Twitch has been blocking Israeli IPs from registering for over a year, and no one knew about it. No one has really reported on it, and Twitch hasn't done anything about it. Now that people are noticing, Twitch is finally doing something about it and trying to come up with an excuse. So today we'll be going through that, and also we'll be going through why I think Twitch, and specifically the Twitch's current CEO, Dan Clancy, are either really stupid or an actual anti-Semites and actively, well, something that is true is that they are actively supporting anti-Semitic live streamers. So we'll go through all that. Just a heads up, I'm much more sort of in what's happening than Marco and Richard here. I know all these people. I have been following them for a while. So if I'm ever if I'm ever missing out, Marco and Richard will try to jump in just so everyone is understanding. Because I believe also many of our audience might not necessarily know about Twitch and everyone who is behind it. So this will be the big part of this will be also an explanation, and but also I think there's enough to put out some or basically make some general assessments of the situation of the Twitch, of the reporting on it, and on what has been happening for a year now. So just an explanation what Twitch is. It's basically, it's sort of similar to YouTube, but it's much more focused on live streams specifically. So there are not that many recordings of different videos, and it's not really the site is not really configured in a proper way to sort of have that past viewing of different views. It's much more focused on live viewership. It's mostly focused on gaming, but has the big part is also politics. So, Marco and Richard, what's your favorite category on Twitch?
Well,
the off button.
the log out button. Well, I mean, what's new? You got a platform full of anti-Semite and full of idiots. Well, we've seen this translated in many platforms. It's not an issue with Twitch itself. We've seen Telegram has got this kind of issues.
I'd like to jump in. I want to make a case that it is specific problem with Twitch. Even if you take something like X and the fact that they are anti-Semites on X, what you don't see, it would be sort of like if what's his name, Elon Musk was like reposting someone praising Hitler or something like that. I think we are on that level. So while there might be if you have a relatively free platform, you'll have a lot of people with even beliefs you don't accept. I think the difference is what is the sort of policy of what is being promoted, and I think that's the actively bad element on Twitch currently.
Yeah, well, Telegram was used by the Hamas monsters during the attack on October 7th, so that they were broadcasting live on Telegram. And I would suggest to the CEO of Twitch not to go to France, because the CEO of Telegram is still held prisoner in France. So careful where you go. But yeah, I mean, I understand that there is a particular specific problem with Twitch and the perceived way it's managed or mismanaged or not managed at all. But the point is that we've seen so much anti-Semitism. We've seen such a acceptance of anti-Semitism in the last year and a few weeks that unfortunately it's not a specific problem. Even if you got rid of Twitch, you're not going to get rid of the problem. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, Twitch is bad, but you had the choice. I mean, I would urge anyone, if you have a Twitch account, just delete it now. It's not worth the hassle, effectively supporting this kind of behavior. But don't be in two minds thinking that by doing that you will stop anti-Semitism online, because you're not going to.
I think this is an interesting category, particularly for people like us. And this covers the fact that I think that it's not been reported on as much as other things have. And I think that's because it passes under the radar because of the young demographic to which it appeals to. In fact, it exists in an isolated, in a well, it's accessible to everyone, but it tends to be focused on such a young demographic that many people who would be reporting on it simply don't know enough about it, the extent to which it exists, the kind of stuff that's on there, in order to comment on how it's changed in the past year or how it reflects generally. I mean, I looked up some figures on it, and 41% of people are under 24. And a good 73% of people who use it are under 34. So it's very much aimed at a very young demographic. It seems to be split across countries, about 20%, roughly 21% in the US, and then other countries like Germany have 7%, and the UK 5%, and various others 4%. So so it's obviously got an American slant to it. You know, not particularly surprising that. But I do think the fact that it's such a youth thing, and it doesn't have the coverage that feeds in. It's not easily understandable and translatable into articles on the Telegraph, for example, or or even the Guardian for that matter. So that's partly why I think it's less well covered in terms of media coverage. But that's why perhaps we need to focus on it and bring it out into the light.
Well, having said that, 4 years ago, there was a story about the Hunter Biden laptop, which was suppressed by the platform for all the audiences. So really the issue is the media, the establishment, however you want to define it, is out there to protect that kind of side, to protect the Hamas loving side, and to, whenever they can, put the weight against Israel.
So just going to the story itself, basically what has happened is that following the October 7 attacks, about the week after, what has happened is that if you were an Israeli, so if you had an Israeli IP address, like if you are actively in Israel, basically you couldn't sign up for Twitch. You just couldn't make an account. This has been in place for over a year. Now that people started noticing it and people started talking about it, as well as some media, I just like to say what my biggest problem is when it comes to the reporting is that yet I haven't seen any Western media or any media like in America or the or Europe sort of reporting on this, but I've seen one on Jerusalem Post, so it's good that something is being reported, but it's and also Wynand, I believe, but it's still this sort of specifically Israeli media reporting on this as if this is like an Israeli issue specifically. And I guess you're kind of right, and some people are also talking about what is specific about Twitch that's anti-Semitic, because if this just happened in a sort of vacuum, it would still be a story, but it wouldn't be as big as I think it actually is when you look at what is actively being promoted on Twitch. So just quickly, Twitch made a response about this, that what they have done about October 7 is they temporarily disabled signups with email verification in Israel and Palestine, they say, to basically stop from people live streaming, let's say the October 7th massacres. The big problem with that, and then they got a community noted even after that, so Ynet has reported that this hasn't been just an email issue, because what Twitch has been claiming that you could still sign up with your phone number. That's not true, at least from Ynet reports. Basically, you just couldn't sign up. The fact that this has stayed in a place for a year and no one in Twitch has done anything about it, despite people having problem with it and contacting Twitch support, asking them to sort of basically asking them what's going on. There's one specific live streamer on who basically moved from YouTube to Twitch around May this year, and he made a few tweets saying that my Israeli viewers are not able to sign up on Twitch. And again, no one really caught up on it, not even Twitch itself. Okay, anything you guys like to say before we go to my thesis on why Twitch is anti-Semitic?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that the parent company of Twitch is actually owned by Amazon. So I think if this thing comes out, the plug will be pulled fairly quick, because Amazon certainly doesn't want to have this kind of advertising and or stuff attached to its name. And talking about Twitch's past, I mean, in a few years ago, I can't remember exactly when, there was a clearly anti-Semitic attack onto a synagogue in Halle in Germany. And that was streamed live on Twitch. Took Twitch about half an hour to remove the actual post, which by the time it was removed was seen by a few thousand people. So, you know, if they really wanted to keep a lid on it, they could do it. But clearly, you know, as you'll point out, I'm sure, this is not what the management is up to.
Yeah, and just quickly on that, this, so far as we know, this only became an issue when it comes to Israel. There was no banning when it came to Russia, Ukraine. There was no banning in any other wars, no banning in Syria, no banning in Yemen, no any other war you could come up with. There was no banning there. It looks like specifically targeting of Israel. Richard?
Well, just I was going to say I'm looking forward to seeing these clips. I'm not, but I think they're going to be good for illustrating the point we're trying to make. So perhaps those examples are best referred to as we go. So yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go. So we'll go through a few basically big names on Twitch. I'll try to sort of explain who they are, although I think the clips will talk for themselves in to large extent. But if I leave anything out, Mark and Richard are free to point out so I can fill in more context. And also, if anyone in the chat has any specific question, make sure to ask. So first, we're gonna look at someone called Hassan, who he honestly deserves an episode in himself. But I'm gonna play the clip. Just watch bottom right corner. There is actual Hassan, and right above him is his chat. I want you to really look at the chat and see the way it starts moving differently as soon as rapes on October 7th are mentioned.
And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. Mm-hmm. We have to get a deal done. This war must end. In the meantime, and we must get a deal that is about getting the...
So he hasn't said anything specific in this one, but if you noticed it, when rapes were happen on October 7, he physically recalled, like he could not understand it. And if that wasn't enough, so I'll put one website in the chat right now, which if you want to see more clips like this, I think it's a really good one. It's called Dan Clancy Sucks. Dan Clancy is the CEO of Twitch. This website has actually been made by the same person who broke this story about Twitch not basically banning Israeli registration. He's also a really great guy. I have been following him for a long time. So I really recommend seeing that. And you know, if this clip wasn't enough, you'll be able to see more. He denies that any rapes have happened on October 7. He denies pretty much that any atrocities have happened on October 7. If you ask him how many people on October 7 were killed by Hamas, he'll pretty much, when he tries to be moderated, he'll say something like 50%, meaning he believes 50% of people on October 7 were killed by Israel and not by Hamas. And if you really push him into him, he would most likely say that vast majority of people on October 7 were killed by Hamas. And so you might be asking why I'm bringing him out specifically. as we go through the clips, more context will come into place, and I hope it will be understandable even more. But just quickly, someone mentions in the chat, so might as well put it in, although I don't think it's that important. He is a nephew of Cenk Uygur, and he has been working for a long time for the Young Turks until he made his Twitch career. But I don't think that like sort of puts him automatically in a bad light just because he has a familiar connection to someone. But yeah, it's good to point out that that's what he did. Just a few things also he said. He called for killing of landowners. He said America deserved 9/11. He actively uses slurs against minorities that he doesn't like. He oftentimes uses slurs against Jews or specific Jewish persons. And just to wrap that up, he's not banned on Twitch, and he has never been banned since Dan Clancy, the new CEO, took over. But I think I've talked enough for now. Marco, what's your reaction to the clip or to the other ones you've seen? Because there were more.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, first of all, the fact that he's related to Cenk Uygur is fairly relevant because the son of Hamas guy, I can't remember the name now. It doesn't mean that you choose to be an idiot just because a relative of yours is a total idiot. But the opinions of this guy, I mean, here in Britain, we have 5 MPs in Parliament who represent pro-jihadi people. They are in Parliament just because they've been voted by pro-Hamas people, which means that they've taken about between 100 and 200,000 votes in total, the 5 of them. So are we surprised that there is a young guy out there that behaves like an idiot? I mean, there's nothing special about it. What is special? What is particularly sinister to me is the normalization of this kind of behavior. Going online nowadays, you will not be, it won't take you much to find some anti-Semitic idiot out there or somebody who praises Hamas, Sinwar, or any of these monsters. And I'm not talking people like, Khamenei or that kind of ilk. Those are out there. We know they're out there. They do what they do because they represent what they represent. The problem is all the westernized people are from their cozy bedroom or basements in the West take advantage of our freedoms, the freedom that has been, earned, has been worked towards through the centuries, and they pushing for an oppressive regime, and that really get on my nerves a bit. The fact that they don't realize that what they're pushing is a situation where they're gonna be enslaved, literally enslaved. They think they're gonna be on top, and they're gonna be holding the whip to control people, but they're not going to. People above them will take advantage of it, and they're just the useful idiots that we see out there, and nobody seems to call them out. And as you mentioned, the fact that nobody is talking about this kind of issues is kind of it's affected the West. Holding his arms up and say, "Yeah, well, there's nothing we can do. We are doomed to destruction."
I think this guy's just a standard tool of Hamas, and they use that word in both senses. And we see them in every media, don't we? I mean, Owen Jones is no different. He's belittling the rapes. They're both taking the same technique. They're downgrading all the violence. They're trying to whitewash the violence away, pretend it didn't occur, simply lie about it, whilst at the same time elevating a sense that there's violence on the side of the US. And Israel that makes it a moral equivalent, or to be honest, a worse category in their eyes. And that's the trick they're trying to pull. They're trying to tip the seesaw in the complete opposite direction to how it is in reality. So that's no real surprise. It's just another forum for doing that. I think the problem is it's aimed at the young and the dumb. Not necessarily the same. They're not necessarily the same people. But those kind of minds that are susceptible to taking a second-handed sense of what they should know, and he's providing that to them in the most low level manner possible, and that ends up being like an UNRWA level of anti-Semitic teaching, where you're encouraging people to hate Jews and to take that as far as the dumb individual chooses to subsequently, and that's the worry.
So something I'd like to point out, because so someone in the chat is saying this just sounds like a lot of idiots on Twitch. And there was something I was a bit worried about in the episode, because there's just so much information you sort of have to take in. It's really hard to. I'm just gonna try my best to make my case. So another thing that has happened with Hassan specifically, I guess we might play it now. We'll just play a little bit and I'll explain the full context. So let's just watch just a bit.
I have no audio here.
Oh wait, could people not hear anything?
I couldn't.
Well, we certainly could.
Well, let's give it another shot. My bad.
They've all tried COT, including the captain of the ship that he went on. He's saying that the vibes are immaculate.
No way.
He's saying he wants us to visit.
Oh, dude, I would love to one day. I am afraid of America bombs, though. That's what I'm.
So, an explanation for that. Who was on the top left? It was an Yemeni influencer, is the most mild way of saying it. He's a Houthi pirate. He's an actual terrorist who has pictures of him being on captured ships by the Houthis. So he has connections with the Houthis. He has pictures of him with different weapons. Basically, he is the sort of like the PR wing of the Houthis. And Hassan just has him on for like a fun interview. Hassan has also compared this guy to Anne Frank, that he's just trying to do the best in his situation. He's just trying to live through. No, he is someone who's actively profiting from being with the Houthis. And just to point out, Twitch has like rules against promoting terrorism, against having terrorists on your live stream, against all these things. And he hasn't been banned. He hasn't been banned since October 7th. And he does stuff like that again and again and again. And the fact that, again, that sort of brings me, it's understandable that they are going to be bad actors on a platform. What actually matters is what you do about it. That's what I talk about when it comes to IDF. You'll have people who go rogue, go out of line, and do something bad. The morality of the country or the morality of the organization is what is being done about it. And the fact is that these things are being encouraged. There is nothing being done about it. If you watch Twitch, there's always like an ad before you actually can watch. So there is advertisement money both like behind these sort of things. And the fact that again, that people are not talking about this, are not let's say contacting the companies that this is happening, that you have a company that is basically allowing terrorism supporting to go on, and nothing is being done. Again, that's the thing that's like driving me real crazy. Anything you guys like to add?
Well, I understand your point, and I agree. But we also have a UN resolution that's supposed to stop Hezbollah from attacking Israel. And is it being followed? Has anybody during the last 16 years or something said we should do something about it? So are we surprised that there is a company which doesn't monitor properly what's on its platform? I mean, I can't say I'm shocked,
I think the manner to which I am shocked is that this is the normalization, the trivialization of the very essence of terrorism. You've essentially invited a terrorist on and said he's just like an activist, like one of us. He's an influencer like one of us. It's making that assumption, making it acceptable, making the anti-Semitism insignificant and standard. Those are the dangers that you're seeing depicted here, and you're seeing it depicted at a cultural level with the most susceptible minds who don't even notice to the same extent that a more mature mind does, that they are being led along a little, and I think that's the concern here. So yeah.
I mean, something you have mentioned is the fact that Twitch has generally a bit younger audience, and again, that's the people who listen to him. You have this like it's hard to even talk about it. Like you have terrorist like propaganda like actually being live streamed, every day, like his live almost every day for like 12 hours at a time, and not all time is spent specifically on politics, but you do have that sort of thing. And we have even people in chat saying that they don't really see what's a big deal. And I'm really, struggling to really sort of explain what the fact that that no one that sort of even you guys are sort of just like, it's just another thing. Like it's not like there's not something unique about this. That there is a company that is actively like supporting this. They have advertisers behind them, and no like media is reporting on it.
But
If you want.
I totally get it. I mean, I've seen clips of the guy, and he's utterly foul. I mean, it's a proper Hassan of a bitch, really. But the point is that, unfortunately, that kind of behavior only represents what's been taught to them from a very young age. Right now, perhaps not as much visible in America, but it's definitely here in Europe and certainly here in Britain. It's a kind of glamorization of Islam, if you like. The fact that Arabic, there's another thing that we could talk about is during the TwitchCon, there was a game that some Twitch influencers were playing, where they were ranking people on a scale of good or bad. Good was the word for good was Arabic, and the word Arab, and the word for bad was the name of a Israeli hummus, a famous brand of hummus. So if you're Israeli, you're bad. If you're Arab, you're good. So there is this kind of glamorization of even the way how the headscarves are pushed as an item of fashion rather than a symbol of women's oppression. This is not being talked about. So you have women in scarf who, yes, can make the choice in the West, but if they go to Iran, or even if they go to an airplane owned by the Qatari or Dubai, they have to cover their heads because women's are not the same in Arabic cultures. And this has been normalized. It's presented as, oh, women can choose to wear it. No, they cannot. They get flogged or stoned to death if they don't wear the scarves. And in fact, in Iran, we know that they're actually killed. They disappear. Women who've been trying to challenge the government, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Ayatollah and his mates, have been killed. They disappear. They die. They're incarcerated. And here they're trying to do the same thing in the West. Just look at here in Britain, there is a culture of pubs, yeah? Even that is under attack by people presenting the low or no alcoholic drinks as cool, the new thing to do. And how our current government, the lefty government, which is so pro Hamas that it's painful to watch, was effectively attacking the pub culture with the guise of, oh, it's good for your health. bullshit. This is like terraforming for, you know, the spread of Islam. And we know that Islam, yeah, it's a stupid religion like any other religion. And so it's not a problem, Islam itself, but it's a point that Islam is not a religion of peace. It's not a religion that is just trying to control people. It's a religion that's trying to spread itself by taking over. It's not something that you convince somebody to become an Islamic or whatever. And that's the thing that really annoys me. And this kind of behavior, this kind of activity on media for younger people, it only represents another tentacle of this big octopus that actually is taking over civilized society.
I think I just wanted to make a comment on the Anne Frank side of things, because, for example, I mean, that's obviously a really strong example when it's used outside of youth culture. For example, when Justin Bieber visited the Anne Frank Museum a few years ago and wrote a particularly crass comment in the visitors book, he was pilloried for it, and it was all across the newspapers, etc. And that was, you know, exceptionally mild in comparison to what we're talking about here. But to take the example of her and pretend that she's a representative of violence and theft, which is what a Houthi is a representative of, and you know, try and conceal that under the banner of they're both resisting, that's heinous. And of course, if the same newspapers that commented on Justin Bieber knew about this kind of instance, they would be pushing it far more. So that is, I think, you know, the value in us here shining a spotlight on it and making it clear. So I think it's important that to recognize, as Marco said, the tentacles, but also the existence of this tentacle, which is one of the least highlighted and one of the most influential, to use the term, for the next few years and the generation that's being most exposed to it.
So I think let's continue with different clips. Some people in the chat saying, you know, well, it's just one crazy dude. Well, just so you mentioned the TwitchCon panel. So let's look at one of the people who was at that specific panel, and what are her views about, you know, let's say veteran soldiers.
Any other motherfucker, you're joining them. Oh my god, I want my fucking Camaro, no student loans. Fuck you. I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into fucking America. And they posted it in my head. I'm like, base?
So just to introduce Zoomer lingo to the other folks in the audience, based is sort of like a thing you say, you know, something that's real good, like but sometimes like edgy on the side. You just say it's based. So you know, saying that people who fought in wars and come back, they should get PTSD. They should not have health insurance. They shouldn't get treated. And then you know, when she was called out for that statement, she pretty much doubles down. Again, is she banned? Nope. Twitch has a specific policy about arguing against veterans, or sort of dehonesting veterans. Nope, not enough. Who is she? Well, she's someone connected to Hassan. She's a moderator for Hassan. Moderator basically means you have like certain privileges when it comes to someone else's chat room. So if you had a moderator for ARCUK, you could like delete comments, for example. And she became a streamer from that. She was a rising star of Twitch in, I think, 2022. And she spends, again, not all of the time, she spends a lot of the time basically calling for the killing of, you know, they say Zionists. But you know, you've mentioned the panel. It's that sort of similar thing. We say Zionist, wink, wink. And again, that's the problem. Nothing is being done about it. Would you guys like to mention about this specifically?
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's just a bunch of idiots, but this bunch of idiots have got such a reach, especially with young kids, that the damage that they're doing is just untold. Because, as I mentioned earlier on, it's not just The stuff that you see on the mainstream media, the stuff that you read in the news, the kind of contempt that Israel and its defense against all the savages in the Middle East is going on. It's not just that. It's the fact that even in their free time, in the spare time, in the entertainment time, they are exposed to this kind of barrage of anti-Semitism. And as I said earlier on, it's designed to make it look cool, make it look acceptable, to turn up with a scarf and look at me, I'm wearing different colors, aren't I cool? Yeah, bitch. You go to Iran and do the same thing by arguing, oh, LGBT rights are good. See how long you last.
Yeah, I think, and what you're talking about here in terms of the kind of moderator that she would make, it would be a sheer activist, propagandist, pushing an agenda, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be moderating for in the way that the word is intended to mean, would it? So yeah, there's that element to it. I think on the panel also, I think if I understood it right, they had various types of Arabs, including a Jewish Arab, or a Jew was represented on the panel as well. But of course, they were the kind of, the sort of self-hating Jew, if you like. They were all part of the same gang, all driving the same agenda, not a pretense at balance. And of course, you see that across all areas, don't you? Finkelstein is another example of that in a different sphere, in the sphere of academia. So it exists everywhere, but that is the shocking element to it, that it's being worked on at every level of society and is representative of the culture of today and its drive towards making Jew hatred a normalized, regular feature.
So we'll continue with more people, but someone makes a good point in the chat. He says it's a bit hypocritical when this channel allows anti-Semitism without banning them. It's an interesting statement. We are talking about the policy here. To equate it realistically, it would be us seeing anti-Semitism in the chat, inviting them on show and giving them a permanent show and pay and affiliated status. Not to mention, all of these people have what's called a Twitch affiliation, which means you have an exclusive deal with Twitch, meaning you can only live stream on Twitch. So they have and another thing that comes up with the Twitch deal is also you have sort of like your own person as a sort of like your connection to Twitch. So you don't have to go through like a normal customer support, but you have like a quick go-to. Anything you guys like to say on the comment?
I don't know. Is this person who made a comment worth replying to, or is just a normal troll?
It's a member. I think it's a.
Well, okay. In the case, yes, you could argue that a private company it should be allowed to allow any kind of speech they want, as long as it's not hate speech. In this case, it's clearly hate speech. It's clearly breaching not only the guidelines, i.e., the contract made between the user and the company itself, but it's actually breaking the law. Some of the stuff that these people do, as Daniel pointed out at the opening, it's actually against the law. So, it's not the same as allowing a degree of free speech, even if somebody makes a stupid statement. It's about, it gets to a point where free speech crosses over into breaking the law. And that's what Twitch is doing. And that's what the media are not covering, because, why would they cover it when Twitch is actually working for them in a way?
And of course, hate speech is one of the most misused terms. So that doesn't mean that every time it's used, you're going to agree with it. We're talking about inciting violence here as being the problem. And of course, the overall point you're making is the need to voluntarily choose to cut off your custom from Twitch. As a result of what we're highlighting here, or encourage the young people in your charge to cut off their custom with Twitch for the dangers that it represents as a guardian or a parent, for example. So that's one of the key purposes to remember, that you can by highlighting it, you can choose to boycott it subsequently, knowing about what it really contains. And I think it's the fact that people don't know what's in this stuff that is why it's so pervasive.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the fact that people are actively calling for killing of certain people, and so we haven't seen that yet. So some people might be, but they haven't. They've said bad stuff, but they haven't specifically told. So let's play. I think I'll just play them in continuation. About 3 clips. They all refer to a specific person. I'll say who this, or I'll explain who the specific person is after we play the clips, because I think it really brings in together much better. So let's go to the first one.
Just goes out and just says the N-word, which is not a surprise because he said the N-word on stream with his own face. Can somebody just it would just be so easy to it will solve all of our problems. Like, we would have socialism now at this point, right? We would have socialism at this point if someone just went out of their way and it would be so easy. This is what happens when you don't kill every single slave owner after slavery. They have children, and their children have children, and their children have children, and then their children have accidents that should have ended up on a sock, and it becomes destiny. That's what you get. That's what you get. When you don't murder every single slave owner, every single Ku Klux Klan member, and they have children, and those children have accidents that should have been aborted, you get destiny.
So if you heard the specific censoring of the sound, I think that's specifically on his side, that he has like a button that basically plays a sound and stops him from saying. But it was clear what he was saying. He was actively advocating for killing of a specific person. Then sort of, as we like to do, when you sort of go from a particular and you sort of abstract a concept, he went from advocating for killing a specific person and then abstracted to what it means for a group. Should I just play the other 2 clips and then we comment on all of them together? So I should be able to play them one after each other. Wait.
Why is Dante's in a podcast with Destiny? Bro, that Destiny guy needs to get not gonna fucking...
Sorry, are you able to hear?
It's good.
It's a little quiet, but it's audible.
Okay, that's quiet on his side, so I'm sorry. All right, let's play it again. My bad.
Why is Dante's in a podcast with Destiny? Bro, that Destiny guy needs to get not gonna fucking lie.
Okay, so that's one, and let's just quickly watch this one. We'll just play
the guy who said it was on site at TwitchCon if he saw Destiny.
I dealt with kids like this all the time in high school.
What if I want the satisfaction?
As an adult, you have to at some point respond, but keeping it to saying shit about character and not physically is great. I mean, listen, all I'm saying is on site, we all have different ways that we react, so
I'm not saying it's on site if I see Destiny at TwitchCon again. I'm just saying, it probably wouldn't be on site. Honestly, I probably wouldn't notice him while I'm tripping over him because he's so fucking short.
Like him to come.
Okay, so the first one, if it wasn't heard that well, the first one, so the first one we played was we could have socialism if someone was killed. The specific person they're referring to, Destiny, I'll refer to him that way. There was another person who said he should be killed. He didn't say that. He just said he should be, which absolutely doesn't say. And then there were the 2 other guys, Central Committee and Gremlow, who both agreed on the on-site, basically meaning if you met him, you would do something to him. They all refer to same person. And would you look at that? Neither of these people are banned. None of them are banned. And you might be asking, wait, they are advocating for killing of a specific individual, Destiny. Who is he? Oh, he is banned on Twitch. He is banned on Twitch. What's the reason? He wasn't told. He wasn't told reason for being banned on Twitch. But what are his relations to these people? So Hassan became popular thanks to Destiny, and there was a breakup after. I'm sort of explaining politics too much. The sort of short story is also that Destiny is currently a big Israel supporter, not to sort of extent we would sort of see. I think he still argues for a two-state solution, but he absolutely believes Hamas should get destroyed, Hezbollah should get destroyed. And he also was pretty happy about the pager attack, for example. They are actively calling for violence against this person, and nothing is being done to them. And just connecting, all of them are connected to Hassan. Hassan has a connection to the CEO, and Destiny has been banned for a long time, hasn't been told why. So again, as much as someone would want to make, there's just few crazy people. No, these people are actively being supported. They have connections within Twitch. Twitch is actively promoting them, is actively basically not adhering to the rules, to their own rules, to their own guidelines about banning them, and is not doing anything about this, as long as it is against specific individuals Twitch doesn't like, or specific groups of people like the Jews that is sort of just being accepted. So what do you think, guys? Did I make my point for why I think Twitch specifically has anti-Semitic problem, not just in the way that X has, for example, that you just had some anti-Semites there? No, I think Twitch is actively promoting this kind of vile hatred of Jews.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's part of the big strategy pro-Islamic, really. You have papers like The Guardian and, Al Jazeera, all this kind of stuff. They are nakedly pushing propaganda. BBC, when Sinwar died, Jerry Bowen talked about the guy who allowed Hamas to deal a massive blow on October 7 to Israel. I mean, these people are actively praising terrorist organizations, and Twitch in particular is just it's just managed to push the boundary further. It's just part of this propaganda, which used to be drip drip, but now it's like, it's a wall of water. It's a tsunami of pro-Islamic disinformation and brainwashing, really, which have been witnessing the last year. And we know that probably all this kind of stuff is paid by Iran. We know that there's lots of this so-called non-profit pro-Islamic, pro-Muslim stuff, which is actually just a cover for money being diverted for Islamic propaganda in the West. But because we're too stupid, because we don't realize that actually these people are actively trying to undermine our way of life, actively trying to undermine the freedom that we enjoy, they're exploiting this very freedom in order to enslave us all, in order to destroy the very structure that allow us to keep some degree of freedom. Yes, we're in a mixed economy. It's hardly it's hardly the utopia that we objectivists are pushing for. But compared to them, this is like fantastic. And they don't like that. They don't like freedom. They don't like freedom of expression. They don't like people who push forward different ideas from them. And they're very, very consistent in pushing their hate talk, hate speech, and Islamization. As I said earlier on, Islamization is not designed to evangelize, but designed to conquer, to force you. So that's what they're doing.
And of course, that's not.
Sorry, just quickly, we have someone in the chat saying, I have former friends who have fallen for the TikTok anti-Israel propaganda. They kept reposted BS anti-Israel TikToks. And I think it's a similar issue here, the fact that basically when it comes to sort of politics sides of Twitch, someone like Hassan has almost exclusive monopoly because everyone else has been banned. And the fact that there is no on-platform opposition to these ideas. So you have already very radical sets of groups. I mean, even if you talk about, sort of like internet leftists themselves, it's already like insanely radical than sort of the norm. And then you also have pretty much no opposition. So we have in many times basically like actual kids, teenagers listening to this stuff, and nothing is being sort of put against that. So the fact that this is allowed, this is encouraged, is I think like incredibly disturbing part. And the fact that again no one is reporting on this.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and
Richard.
The fact they're not all in the pay of a foreign entity, but they're also, sympathizers with the anti-American attitude, voluntary sympathizers, that the culture is gradually seeping through to that level. I mean, essentially, you're talking about the kind of bozos at the back of the class that have now a microphone and a camera and a far greater reach than the classroom that they would have had, and therefore the spread is faster, the rot is faster, and the disthinking, the unthinking occurs at a greater pace. And that's the thing that needs to be countered, and it needs to be countered with better ideas, with the right kind of ideas, rather than by not necessarily always banning every element of it. Although I'm certainly, when it comes to inciting violence, obviously in favour of that isn't heard. But you need to make sure that you challenge those ideas with the better ideas, and on a level which can be understood, which is comparable by the kind of maybe it is people like Destiny, and the fact that he has been banned from this is perhaps indicative of your point that it isn't a fair field in terms of allowing ideas to be heard.
I was just quickly checking in just to see if any Western media is reporting on this. Nope. I still only see something you've mentioned earlier, the fact that one anti-Palestinian or pro-Israeli, whichever you want to call them, Twitch streamer has been banned recently. Although, to sort of put it fairly, I think the statement he did was probably warranting a ban. But again, you see, I mean, let's just quickly talk about it because I know you guys mentioned it, so you know about it. Basically, there's this other streamer called Asmongold. He has been sort of delving more and more into politics, but he's not like a politics streamer. Really, what has happened is that he was arguing with someone or something, and at some point he said something like, Palestinian culture is disgusting, it's terrible. I might be paraphrasing. It's like horrible, American culture is better. You should be able to judge cultures. And then, and now I'm quoting, he said something along the lines of, it's okay to genocide genociders. Basically saying, if there is a group that is actively trying to genocide you, it's okay to commit genocide against them. I think there's a problem with the word genocide, the way it should be proper. It's proper to have a military response to a group that is trying to actively kill you or genocide you. But still, you could say that that specific wording is problematic. He was banned immediately. Western media has been reporting on it. Like few hours after he said it, there were already articles like written and up about what he said. And so you see this difference. And when it comes to this, again, we knew about this IP ban of Israel for a few days now. There's still no Western media. There's still very little actual. I've recently seen, I think there is a Twitter, something like fighting anti-Semitism or something like that, or stop anti-Semitism. I think it's like an actual organization. And they were asking if any Twitch employees want to come up or like come out, and they would like do an interview. So thankfully there are some organizations, but again, it's like those specific who focus on anti-Semitism or who focus on Israel. The fact that this is not like an universal issue is the problem. But Richard, I think you mentioned this specific example, so I just want to see if you have anything to say.
No. I think you've covered it there. I just became aware of it in the course of the research here, and I don't wish to add anything. Thank you. I appreciate you acting as our elf-like guide through the Middle Earth of gamers media, and showing us a world we haven't seen before. Perhaps on the next show we should quiz you on the Latin names in horticulture, just to balance things up.
Let me. I've completely missed the super chat. My bad. We have a super sticker from Jeff. Thank you so much. We have a super chat from Jonathan. Thank you so much. We have a member super chat from Robin. Thank you so much. He says, so the ARCUK won't be having any hot tub streams on Twitch anytime soon. For insiders know, there was also a big deal that basically, yeah, there's a bit too much sort of half nudity on Twitch when it comes to sort of what I think should be reasonably even allowed, maybe in some cases. But I've personally been boycotting Twitch for a long time. Now I have better justifications to do so. But yeah, I really dislike the company for a long time. And I'm vindicated by this. We also have a super chat from Ideology. Thank you so much. He says, what percentage of anti-Semitism is Islamic and what percentage is moronic in this day and age, and why does one feed the other? I don't think it is especially... you have to realize that anti-Semitism was sort of like, it was viewed badly if you go a few years back. Basically, when Kanye came out as an anti-Semite, there was a strong push against him, like he lost deals. It was a big problem. And, if only he knew he could wait 2 years and come out then and basically be fully accepted. And I think the problem is that, the fact that it is now just accepted. Like, you can, if you just call it anti-Zionism, you can pretty much get away with anything. People like this, the fact that they are able to say those specific things, to talk about Israel in certain way, to talk about Jews in a certain way, and it is just accepted. It's terrible to see that this has happened in just a few years.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell how many anti-Semites are Muslim, but I can tell you for sure that if you are a Muslim, if you are seriously Muslim, if you take the religion seriously, you are an anti-Semite, because anti-Semitism, destruction of Israel, and killing of Jews is embedded in the religion itself, and the culture itself is quite obvious. I mean, just see what happens in the Middle East all the time. So, of course, not everybody that could be called a Muslim is an anti-Semite, because not every Muslim is like, not every Christian goes to church every Sunday. So there's a degree of how much you are considered a Muslim by actually you're not a religious person. But if you follow their religion, you're guaranteed to be an anti-Semite.
And of course, you see all sorts of anti-Semitic things like memes, whether it's memes or it's cartoons in national newspapers. There's the whole span of it all there, and that's just another example of the fact that it's always been there, even ahead of October the 7th. What October the 7th has done and what's happened since has brought it out more into the light, made it more apparent to more people, as it's apparent on the streets of London and New York every weekend with the various marches that occur. You actually see what was there before, and of course that's been a particularly disturbing element to the whole past year.
And with that, thank you everybody for watching today. Again, I'm putting in the chat, Dan Clancy sucks. The website, he's a CEO of Twitch. That website has a bunch of clips. Some of those we've played, that you can go in and you can see more about what has been happening, what has been allowed. And with that, wait, someone had a question? There was actually one comment I wanted to read out. Right-wing anti-Semitism is taken seriously by mainstream media and nearly all social media. Left-wing anti-Zionism, even right-wing charading under anti-Zionism, gets tolerated on many social medias. Yeah, I think that's pretty much true, because you see a lot of the even what we would consider sort of like right-wing people, I don't know, Dan Bilzerian, Andrew Tate, who else can come up with? Nick Fuentes, of course, their anti-Semitism is now pretty much at the point that it's sort of accepted. Like now they pretty much get no punishment. Oh, by the way, Nick Fuentes, yeah, not banned on Twitch. He actually has had his ban repealed, and I've recently seen him. What is it? What is it called when you like pull out the right hand as a like a Nazi? Heiling?
Nazi salute.
Yeah, Nazi salute. He has been doing Nazi salutes, so that's okay. We can have that sort of kind on Twitch also. Where can people find you, and any last thoughts?
Well, I would urge everyone who comes across this kind of anti-Semitism, if you can, just fight it back with ideas. If you are on Twitch and you're not happy with it, just cancel your account. I mean, you can avoid stuff which is out there, and you can fight it. I mean, you don't have to, but at least you should. If you have the moral standing to say no, I don't agree, do that by any means, because people will be emboldened by if somebody else takes the initiative, say I don't agree or I think you're right, more people probably follow. If you just keep quiet and silent, well, this kind of anti-Semitism is gonna become more and more acceptable, and it should be made the point that it's not acceptable.
Yeah, and of course the key point is the focus in using your own mind, because it really doesn't matter whether your great granddad was a slave owner or Oscar Schindler. It makes no difference whatsoever. You have your own mind. You're the one that has to use it, and it's not predetermined what you think. You determine what you think. So make proper focused use of it. Where can you find us? You can find us on the Briefly Objective, which is or some of the clips that we help to make from this channel. Shortened versions taken from the many discussions on the shows on this channel are on the Briefly Objective. There's a link in the description below for short form material. So please like, subscribe, and share on the social media that is worth doing so.
And check out the what's it called? The
Substack.
Substack.
Well, yeah, for all our articles.
And you can find all the links in the description. Someone says Nick Fuentes isn't right-wing, he's a communist. He's a Christian nationalist. I'm not sure where you're getting that from. Once you get really statist, you might see that there is not much different between communists and fascists. Maybe that's what you're sort of looking at. But by the way left and right is being used, he is a Christian nationalist. I think that's much more appropriate term. Thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow with another episode of The Daily Objective and The Reality Show. Bye-bye.